welcome to Incoming, the video podcast in which I take a look back at my favourite releases from the last 7 days. This is episode 19, which looks back at releases for week ending the 25th of September 2009. As always, I'm your host Neil Shuck. Quite a few miniature releases this week on the historical front, so let's get straight on with the show. Number 10, we have a new release from Ebob Miniatures, which is the company that's currently specialising in early World War II figures and vehicles. This is a French Char FCM 2C tank in 1/56 scale. French Char tanks were very prevalent during the early part of 1940, so this is a great addition for your French World War II forces. Number 9 this week, our friends Campaign Game Miniatures. They continue their releases of 15mm Napoleonics with another character figure, and this is the Prince of Orange. Decent enough figure, possibly lacking in some of the flair of some of their other, especially French character figures, but a nice enough addition to the Allied forces. Number 8, it's more 15mm troops, this time from Legio Eureka. These are 15mm agents, and they have some new additions to their African forces, and here we see examples of their Syrian armoured infantry and their Zarge javelin men. These are somewhat stylistic sculpts as they seem quite broad with large heads. But I think you'll agree with me that they actually look quite effective painted up. And number 7, we have the first of a couple of new releases from Warlord Games. Following on from their command group of last week, their pike and shot range this week, we now have the Scottish Covenanters. Another plastic box set with a mix of pike and musketeers. These were quite famous units during the English Civil War, so it's nice to have them now available for your pike and shot 28mm forces. Not a fantastic range of poses, but a decent addition to your rank and file troops. And staying with Warlord but moving to their World War II bolt action range for number 6. They have a new British light tank, and this is the Tetrarch, a tank that's most famous as being able to be carried in a glider and was therefore used by the British Airborne Forces during both the D-Day invasion and Operation Market Garden. This particular kit comes with 3 variants. You can have the standard 2-pounder gun, the 2-pounder with a Little John adapter which increases muzzle velocity, or the 3-inch howitzer which was used for infantry support. Quite an unusual vehicle this, but it's nice to see an example in bolt action's range. I think you'll agree it's sculpted pretty well. Into the top 5, and we have a new sculpt from Ebob Miniatures, a company that's still riding high with its success of their Scottish Wars range, but this is a much different subject. This is in fact a Royal Marine Commando, dressed as he would for the Falklands War circa 1982. This is a cracking looking figure, very reminiscent actually of a very famous television shot that was filmed during the war. Although I think it's arguable whether that particular shot in question was a Royal Marine Commando or whether it was actually a para. But even so, this is a tremendous character study sculpt. I'm wondering actually if it's going to be intended for the Combat Stress charity appeal. More information on that if I get it. Number 4, and it's Khurasan Miniatures, and this is the further releases for their Dark Age Franks stroke Norman range. They have some new unarmoured knights, plus a selection of infantry, crossbowmen and even some peasants. I think this is one of the better releases from Khurasan in recent weeks. The horses certainly look a little bit more dynamic, and otherwise the figures themselves are really nice. I'm a big fan of Dark Age gaming and I'm pretty impressed with these. Well worth a further look, I think. Into the top 3 and all pretty close at the top. Beaten very closely into 3rd place is the latest release from Vitrix Miniatures. Vitrix, if you remember, primarily produce plastic 28mm Napoleonic troops, and these are a variation on their French troops. They've retaken the original pack and they've retooled the troops with new headgear and a bit of new equipment to give us earlier war French, 1804 to 1807. Looks to be another great pack from Vitrix, really well detailed, plus a huge range of poses available straight out of the box. Well worth checking out if you're more interested in the earlier war of Napoleon. At number 2, yes, the Aussies are back with another release from their French Revolutionary Wars range, and these again are quite unusual, as these are Tyroleans, would you believe? It's almost unusual to see guys in this sort of dress without some sort of large alpine horn, but I think you'll agree, yet again, a fantastic release from Eureka. Models are full of character, really well detailed, lots of different choice of pose and headgear. I'll just show you a couple of examples here of what you can actually get hold of. And yet again, just a really, really good release from Eureka. Excellent stuff, guys. And they can only be beaten into second place by the Perrys. I featured these before when the Greens first came out on this show. Now they are officially out, and these are the Perrys 28mm plastic French heavy cavalry. You can set them up either as carabiners or as cuirassiers, and here you see several painted examples and plus a complete example of what the unit looks like out of the box. 12 stunning plastic cavalrymen. Fantastic release this week from the Perrys. I'm sure that's got an awful lot of people drooling. But again, I think I'd echo a lot of people when we say bring on Hussars and the Dragoons. But as I say, great stuff. So, that's my top 10, but that's not all the miniatures that were released this week. So stand by for a quick overview of the rest of the week's releases. Following off on that, a new section with this particular vidcast. I was told off in a previous show for featuring as my number one a 54mm miniature from Pegaso, as especially considering how expensive it was hardly a Wargames figure. But they're certainly well worth a look, and there are some new releases from Pegaso this week. And also we've had some new pictures this week of the Aventine Miniatures elephant, now fully painted and complete with transfers. So enjoy the following section of what I just call eye candy. Well, that's all we've got time for this week. Before I go, I just want to say a big thank you to both Bill at the Miniatures page and also Zach at Tabletop Gaming News. Without these two sites, this show wouldn't exist. So thanks to you both for the sterling work that you do. In the meantime, the incoming video podcast will be back in 2 weeks. Yeah, that's right. I'm afraid there will be no show next week as I'm away at a family wedding. So I'll see you again in 2 weeks, and we'll catch up then with all the latest releases. Take care, thanks for watching, see you soon. Bye.